Hi, I'm Dan Small.
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 No, I'm the real Dan Small. Welcome to Deer Hunt, Wisconsin 2021. You know, Wisconsin's gun deer season offers hunters the opportunity to reconnect with friends, enjoy the excitement of a white-tailed deer hunt, bring home some venison, and maybe even connect with a trophy buck. Coming up, we'll look at helping novices get started in the sport with a mentored hunt. We'll feature successful hunts from last season, learn why copper bullets outperform lead, take you hunting for shed antlers, and as always, we'll provide a hunting forecast for each region of the state. All that and more straight ahead on Deer Hunt, Wisconsin 2021. A trail camera can be a useful scouting tool, and you never know what you're going to find when you pull your memory card. My friend and co-producer Mark LaBarbera, Executive Director of the Wisconsin Wildlife Federation, shares his experience using trail cameras for scouting and to choose locations to hunt in order to make the most of precious time afield.
I'll admit it, sometimes I don't feel like getting up early or even going out on my hunting blind near the scrape I set up with a kiewik and estrus doe scent. I think other people might feel that way from time to time. But I always wonder, what would I have seen? Well, now I know. I set up trail cameras at my blinds so I can see what's happening when I'm not there. Usually I see deer coming in and checking out the licking branch and the scent wick, both night and day. Occasionally, it's like a ghost through the darkness and the rain. Other critters come through too. I'd refresh it with a fresh scent. Sometimes I'd drive in with the UTV, dip the scent wick, and keep going. And sometimes my dog followed, but the deer didn't seem to mind her scent, judging from the videos that I've seen after we've been through there. Yearlings, nubbin bucks with bumps where antlers will grow in future years, and older bucks came to visit. Young does and old long-nosed does at times alert and curious about the scent, the blind, or the camera, but normally just relax, move along this trail in clear view of my empty blind.
Again this year, deer hunting regulations are combined with regulations for small game, waterfowl, and turkey hunting in one booklet, which you can pick up at any licensed vendor or download from the DNR website. There are just a few changes in this year's regulations. The list of counties closed to baiting and feeding deer changes depending on where new cases of chronic wasting disease are found. Check the DNR website for updates. The list of counties that offer an antlerless-only holiday hunt and/or extended archery and crossbow season has also changed. More on those later in the show. And there are no buck-only deer management units for this year. This year, the 9-day firearms deer season runs from November 20th through the 28th. The muzzleloader season runs for 10 days immediately following the gun season, November 29th through December 8th. In all Metro Zone subunits, the firearms season runs through December 8th. And some Metro Zone subunits offer free antlerless harvest authorization, so check the regulations for these changes before you hunt. The 4-day statewide December antlerless deer hunt will run from December 9th through the 12th. The antlerless-only holiday hunt runs from December 24th through January 1st in all or part of the farmland zone counties shown on this map. To participate, you or someone in your party must have an unused antlerless harvest authorization for the unit where you're hunting. The Hunting Mentorship Program allows hunters of any age to obtain a license and hunt without first completing a hunter education course. Regardless of age, the hunter must stay within arm's reach of a mentor, possess an appropriate hunting license and tags, and comply with all hunting laws. Now let's join young Sydney Gradle and her mentor, Monica Spaney, president of Accessibility Wisconsin, for Sydney's first deer hunt on the Gradle family property during this year's October Youth Hunt.
It's fun. It's my first time hunting. I thought it was nice and breezy, and I thought it was cool, and it felt relaxing. Monica's really nice because she helps me a lot.
I'm working with Sydney as a mentor because I was mentored throughout the years of my hunting experience, and this is my way to give back. But the mentoring satisfaction comes from seeing the growth in the youth that I'm working with, going from knowing some basics to going, this is her aha moment.
I was excited to go hunting because I really wanted to see a deer and an albino deer because we have an albino that sticks around our house, and I like looking at them because they're really pretty.
Her parents also support this process.
Yes, hunting is a family activity that we all like to enjoy together. I grew up hunting with my father and my brothers, and I would like to continue that tradition. Sydney wanted to become a deer hunter because she has watched me go out hunting in the mornings and the evenings, and she's excited when I come home with a deer or a turkey because she enjoys eating it. She knows that it's part of the way of life to provide for the family. And
I would think that I would be a good hunter someday and that I'd at least get one deer.
I hope that she learns out of this whole hunting experience that how important it is for conservation of animals and being ethical in the way you hunt and being responsible and enjoying it.
So it's all about being outdoors, enjoying the outdoors, understanding that the outdoors is something precious to all of us.
Here's a forecast for the upcoming gun deer season provided by DNR biologists from around the state. Northern Wisconsin offers a wide range of deer habitat and deer hunting opportunities. The variety of habitat also means that deer numbers vary across the region. Some areas can sustain more deer than others. Public land is abundant, but private land tends to hold more deer per square mile. Most of the northern deer management units had an increased buck harvest last season, and most areas had good fawn production this spring. Every deer management unit has some antlerless tags, but some units, especially for public land permits, will sell out prior to the gun season. Most of the Northeast District experienced the 7th mild winter in a row, and there was strong fawn production throughout the region this year. Deer numbers are high region-wide, but populations vary dramatically from one square mile to the next. The Northeast is in the second year of intensive CWD testing, and there are several CWD surveillance areas in the district. Hunters are encouraged to submit the heads of adult deer for testing at DNR offices and designated collection sites. Let's check back with Mark LaBarber to see if he's having any luck. Who knows, maybe he fell asleep in the blind.
The trail camera told me which blind had the most activity, so that's where I decided to spend most of my time. When I finally did go, I did get outside, and the result was this buck following a string of does. One at first and then two, and they all follow the same path, so I lined up there and was ready. When that buck stepped into view for a few seconds, I put him in the crosshairs, took the shot, and he took off. I thought I had a good shot. Sure enough, he didn't go more than 50 yards.
That sure is a nice buck, and it's proof that scouting and using trail cameras can really pay off. We'll check in with Mark later in the show to hear the rest of the story. Trail cameras can also help you identify individual deer and sometimes follow their development over several years. Our videographer and editor, Dave Roll, keeps tabs on deer in his area, including this buck he's been watching for 3 years now. And this guy's unmistakable because somehow he lost most of his tail as a youngster. Let's join my son John again as he goes shed antler hunting with the guy who wrote the book on the subject, outdoor writer and guide Joe Shed. And yes, that's his real name.
Antlers are pretty amazing structures. So they're they're true bone. They're the only bone in the animal kingdom that grows outside of an animal's body. You know, they're made of calcium and phosphorus. As far as deer antlers, they probably are going to start growing around April, and by the end of August, early September, they have grown to their full extent, and they've calcified and hardened, and then the bucks will rub off this protective velvet that grows in the summertime.
Man, these are open woods. So where are you more likely to find a shed, like where there's food or bedding?
You know, they can be anywhere really. The food is more dispersed. You know, when you're looking at brush, I mean, it's kind of everywhere, whereas a bedding area, a specific spot that a deer might be. So I'm always kind of more bed oriented.
Okay. How fast are you normally walking through the woods?
My pace is dictated by how fast my eyes can pick apart what I'm seeing, you know, and if it's more open, you can walk a little faster. Or if there's snow on the ground and the only thing you're going to see is, you know, an antler sticking up out of the snow, I walk a little faster. Whereas in the springtime, like today, when everything just looks like antlers, you got to go a little slower. And I always keep my head kind of scanning back and forth, and my feet go, you know, at the pace where I can still decipher what I'm looking at. And you know, it's another thing is you got to kind of focus on what you're doing. Don't just be like I'm out in the woods taking a nice walk. I mean, honestly, like, you know, really think about what you're seeing, you know, and concentrate on what you're doing. And you'll have a lot of times where you're scanning back and forth, and all of a sudden you do like this double take, like, wait, what did I just see? And you look back, and then it pops out at you, and there's an antler sitting there, and or just like that.
What? No
right in the trail.
No way.
Look at that.
Oh my God.
Oh man, look at that. Sweet shed. Check this thing out.
Yeah, that's a beauty. Really nice.
Yeah, it's a decent sized buck. Certainly not his first antler.
Yeah.
Very
Boy,
cool.
you know, I wonder if the other pair.
Well, right, you know. I mean, sometimes they're together, sometimes they're nearby, sometimes they're just not. But we'll definitely check around and
nice
see if
find.
Yeah, thanks.
I think I'd like to find one too. I mean, there's a trail here. Maybe the other half is down the road here.
Yeah, check it out. I'll keep going on the trail and see if we get lucky. We got this little, you know, cluster of balsams here, John, and a lot of times the deer use these for shelter. I mean, we're on the south edge right here, so if a deer wanted to lay right here, you know, with a north wind, you know, he'd have this protection in his back, kind of blocking the wind, and then he can just lay here and soak up the radiant sun, and it's a little bit warmer. And you know, as you do more shed hunting, you're gonna walk blindly through the woods and stumble on an antler, but the more you do it, you've got to just kind of try to put the odds in your favor and really try to understand why the deer are where they are and what they're doing. You know, so this is a spot that I would specifically look at rather than just, you know, walking blindly around. This is something that, you know, I would be drawn to try to look for sheds.
More time here than in the swamp.
Yep, and you know, in the wintertime, they're going to spend most of their time either eating or resting, and so, you know, probably half their time resting. So they do just bed in these areas quite, you know, for hours at a time.
Oh, this is quite a trail.
Yeah, so they've definitely hammered it down. So you can see here, you know, the deer have been browsing on this as they've been walking down the trail. You can see a lot of these branches are nipped. Yeah. So, you know, that indicates that, you know, deer have been in here and, you know, actively feeding.
Well, deer kind of eat as they walk.
Yeah, they're natural browsers. So,
yeah.
They've been in here, so hopefully there's some sheds. So a place like this, you know, we've got a little cedar swamp down below, and then we're up on the south-facing hillside here that's going to get a lot of sun exposure. It's got some young balsam in here, so it's got a lot of good elements going on. You know, a good bedding spot with, you know, brush right here for them to eat. You can see they've been eating here.
Yo, I found one.
You really?
No, for real. I really found one. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. What do you got?
Right here.
Sure that's not a stick?
Definitely not a stick.
Oh man. Well, that's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Wow. Oh, look at that.
Whoa.
That's a nice one.
Cool. It's not a bad buck.
Well, 8-pointer. 448.
Northern Wisconsin buck. Nice. So how far away were you when you saw it?
You know, it's funny. I was standing right here on top of it, basically.
Pretty much standing.
And yeah, I was kind of getting hungry, and I had a little beef jerky in my backpack, and just kind of standing there. I was like, "This is, you know, a nice spot." And I looked, it was at my foot. And I was just
wow.
like, what?
Wow, is that your first shed?
This is my first shed.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's pretty
Thanks
cool.
for taking me out. I mean, it's
yeah.
unreal.
Yeah.
Well, we really lucked out on the weather. I mean, I wouldn't want to be doing this in the mud and the rain.
Yeah, no, it's cleared up. So, and the snow's all gone earlier this year. So
yeah, it's incredible.
Deer numbers continue to increase across the southern district, and last season's harvest was up 19% from 2019. That trend should continue this year. Habitat varies from the wooded ridges and coulees of the southwest to the flat, productive farmlands of the south central counties. Deer are more abundant in the western and central counties, but there are opportunities to take multiple deer and quality bucks throughout the region. The rolling valleys, fertile farmland, and wooded ridges of west central Wisconsin offer some of the most productive deer habitat found anywhere. Hunters in Jackson and surrounding counties should be careful not to shoot an elk by mistake. And with a high prevalence of CWD in the region, baiting regulations are subject to change, so hunters should check the DNR website regularly for updates. More and more bow hunters are now using crossbows every year. And in fact, in Wisconsin, the crossbow harvest surpassed the regular archery harvest several years ago, and it looks like that trend is going to continue. Let's join Cuba City dentist Matt Andrews and his son Braden for a crossbow hunt.
My dad came and asked me if I wanted to go hunting, and I said sure. So we went to the shop, we got the Ranger, and we drove out to the field behind our house. And we got out, we got the crossbow, and we got in the blind, we put our windows up, and we were all settled down for a little bit. Then 5 minutes later, a big doe popped out. And my dad said, put the 40-yard pin on it. So I put the 40-yard pin on it, and I shot. And I thought I missed, but my dad said, no, you got it. It went right through. So then I was really excited, and we watched the doe run to the edge of the woods, and it dropped. Probably about a half hour later, a big buck came out. My dad said, that's a big buck, you gotta get that. And it was right at the edge of the woods, right next to the doe was. It was trying to get the doe to get up. My dad said, I think that's 40 yards. So I got the bow back up, and I put the 40-yard pin on it, and I shot. And it just ran into the woods, and I don't know if I hit it or not. My dad thought he saw it stumble in the woods, but we didn't know for sure. So we got out of the stand, and we went and we got the arrow where I shot it. And my dad said, oh, I think you missed, buddy, because there was no blood or anything on the arrow. But we took a little peek in the woods to see if maybe we got the buck. But we didn't find it the first time. But then we went back to the shop, and he looked at the arrow. There's hair on it, and it smelled like deer, but there was no blood on it. The next morning, we went out with my grandpas. When we formed like a line, we were going right through the woods, and we saw the buck, and my grandpa said, there it is.
And of course, everyone does the mad dash through the timber to try to, get a peek at him. And, he was just piled up. Probably was, it probably expired last night.
And I was so excited because I didn't think that we got the buck at all. And I ran up to it, and we took pictures with it.
So, I'm really proud of him. It was a heck of a shot on both the buck and the doe. I was more excited for that moment, for that deer, than any I've shot over the years.
So another thing I learned from my dad is you always want to go back and check to see if you did hit it, because we had no idea, and some people would just not even go and check, and they would just think, oh, I missed it, well, maybe next time.
Let's check back with Mark LaBarbera now to learn what happened next with that nice buck he shot.
I was feeling pretty good when I hung the buck at the cabin and then delivered it to my buddy David Collins at Outdoor Creations. With all the pandemic safety standards he set up, I didn't worry about catching COVID-19 when I delivered the buck. He even offered masks for customers. His brother explained how they work with the DNR if a hunter wants his deer tested for CWD. I wasn't worried. My deer looked healthy, but testing was free, so I said, sure, let me know how it tests. David called in about 48 hours to say my venison was ready to be picked up. I moved it from his freezer to mine. A couple weeks later, I heard from the DNR. My western Lafayette County deer tested positive. I was shocked. There's no law against eating a CWD positive deer, but DNR recommends throwing it out just to be safe. So that's what I did.
Not every hunter would discard the venison from a CWD positive deer, but the experts tell us it's the prudent thing to do. Mark's experience is a sobering reminder that we should all have our deer tested. It's free and it's easy, and self-service kiosks and testing stations are located all around the state. If you haven't already made the switch from lead bullets to copper, why not make this the year you go to non-toxic ammo? I started shooting copper bullets last year, and I'm glad I did. This fall, I attended a non-toxic ammo workshop at the North Bristol Sportsman's Club in Dane County, presented by the National Wildlife Federation, and it was a real eye-opener.
There were many of us involved over the years doing work investigating the relationship between lead, scavenging wildlife, and how that interacts and interplays with our hunting and angling background. And so as biologists, we were interested in the questions of how much lead can there possibly be in a carcass, for example. So we were all doing these programs, but we have to share this on a landscape scale. I badgered them for long enough and said we need to co-lead this program called the North American Non-Lead Partnership and take this information to our fellow hunters so they can make informed decisions as it pertains to wildlife health. We don't support litigation or legislation at the Non-Lead Partnership. We made that clear. What we're selling is a notion of possibility and potential where we as sportsmen and women and hunters retain and carry that conservation ethic by leading as hunters and anglers with the science. Only hunters can solve this problem. If you're going to use lead-based ammunition to shoot an animal, domestic or wild, whose remains become a part of the food chain, that's when there's a potential for lead exposure. And you can disrupt that pathway of potential exposure by either removing the remains from the field or using non-lead. It's that simple. The National Wildlife Federation contacted us, and actually they had a program very similar to ours, but when they asked how they could help with all of their chapters in all the different states, we want to build this from the ground up. So they were perfectly situated and nice enough to ask us out here so that we could have this engagement with Wisconsin Wildlife Federation, and hopefully we'll continue it along every other state we can.
So when we started our work, thinking about lead-free landscapes is what we call our campaign. I think one of the things that attracted us most to the Non-Lead Partnership was the same vision. We've always thought it should be done voluntarily by sportsmen and women, educating themselves, understanding what the impacts are, and then making those choices. So when we heard that they were already doing that, we saw a natural partnership and gravitated naturally over to them.
Today at this demo, we'll put a bullet on paper. You know, it's important that you paper your ammo before you go to the field. You might have bumped your scope. Or if you switch brands of ammo, could be the same caliber, same grain weight, it's not going to paper the same. Same thing if you're switching to non-lead. You want to be sure and paper it. Know your tools before you get out there and have confidence. So we got lead on the left, non-lead on the right. Notice the difference in penetration. Now, I'm not saying that that's everything when you're hunting, but there's a lot of power there because it's not stripped of its weight as it moves through the medium. So today we'll demonstrate lead and non-lead side by side in the same medium, and then the range will go cold, we'll walk up, everybody will get a chance to see the bullets as after they hit, and then we'll recover them, we'll take them back, and then we'll weigh the bullets so we can get the percentage of mass retained. That's the non-lead. And then we'll collect the fragments, and that's the eye-opener. When people walk up and they see the lead will be on the left and the copper will be on the right, and you pull out that single copper bullet and it's the beautifully mushroom slug, and then you go back and weigh it, it's going to be 99% of its original weight. And then you pick up the remainder of the lead bullet and all the fragments, and you will see it. People will exclaim, "I had no idea." That's right, because they're small fragments. They say, "Why didn't I ever see that before?" Go to your butcher shop, see if they ever see lead in their grinder. They do. once people hear about this and they see this demo and they think about it with respect to wildlife, a common question is, am I eating it? But people get real jumpy when you talk about their health, because their health is their business. We can talk about wildlife. So we're very careful, and we just say, here are the facts. There are studies, numerous studies that have been done to count how many fragments there are in the gut pile all the way down to the packaged meat. Take that information and make your own decision. We're not telling you what to think there. The future of hunting depends on us taking all of this new science, using it, and adapting the way we take care of our environment.
That's our show for this year. You'll find links for more information on the Deer Hunt Wisconsin Facebook page, and all the segments from this year's show are posted on our Deer Hunt Wisconsin YouTube channel. I'm Dan Small. Thanks for joining us. Have a safe and successful deer season. I'm the real Dan Small. Don't forget it.